Why do Europeans stroll to cafes while Americans rush to parking lots? It's not just style, it's design, history, and a little cultural spice. And today, we're going to unpack why those differences actually change how we live. Picture this: a sunlit, narrow cobblestone street, outdoor cafes, a bicycle leaned against a lamppost, people chatting at a table. Cut to a wide asphalt boulevard with multiple car lanes, parking signs, and almost no one on the sidewalk. That visual difference isn't aesthetic fluff. It shapes how we get around, whether we walk or drive, how healthy we are, even how much carbon our daily routines produce. Over the next few minutes, I'll peel back 3 big answers. 1. The physical layout and mobility choices that invite people, or cars. 2. How public life and culture grow or wither depending on design. And 3. The policies and history that created those patterns. Stick with me and you'll see how tiny design choices, benches, trees, where a bus stop goes, ripple into everyday life. I'm Kiana from Destination Bites. I love travel, good design, and yes, I have one spicy opinion. Sometimes a city needs more espresso shops and fewer parking minimums. Ready? Let's dive in. Ever wondered why a weekend stroll in Rome feels effortless, while a Saturday errand in many U.S. suburbs means getting in the car? It's not magic. It's masonry, maps, and planning choices that set the stage for how we move. Start with the bones of a city: block size and street width. In a lot of European cities, you'll find tight, human-scale blocks and narrow streets that practically beg you to walk. Buildings are mixed use, shops on the ground floor, apartments above. So every block has reasons to be lively. Contrast that with many American cities built or expanded during the car era. Wide grids, big blocks, and zoning rules that separate homes from shops. The result? Long distances between places you want to go, and streets designed to move cars fast instead of people slowly and pleasantly. Scale influences behavior more than you might think. Shorter blocks mean more intersections, which naturally slows traffic and creates more places to turn down and discover a cafe, a bookstore, or a tiny neighborhood barbershop. Walkable streets encourage serendipity, chance encounters, local commerce, kids skating, an impromptu musician on a corner. Wide, high-speed arterials do the opposite. They push activity off the sidewalk and into parking lots, where people drive between destinations instead of bumping into each other on the way. Transit and last-mile options are the next piece of the puzzle. Many European cities invested heavily in high-frequency transit, trams, and regional rail long before the car boom, so people rely less on cars and more on bikes, scooters, and walking to get that final short distance. Protected bike lanes, pedestrianized plazas, and reliable buses knit the city together. In much of the U.S., by contrast, transit is underfunded or spread thin, and the built environment expects a car for almost every trip. Parking dominates the street and the budget. Wide curb cuts, surface lots, and parking minimums that turn precious street-edge storefronts into asphalt. Here's the important bit for anyone who loves cities. You don't need to rebuild everything to change how a place feels. Small design choices, adding benches, widening sidewalks, planting trees, tightening curb radii, or installing a protected bike lane can nudge people out of cars and back into the street. Those modest moves change rhythms and routines, and over time, they shift culture. Later in the video, I'll show real examples where simple interventions transformed dull, car-dominated corridors into lively public places. If you're enjoying this breakdown, tap the like button so I know to bring more neighborhood-level design ideas into future videos.
Quick thought experiment. Where do people actually meet in your city? A sunlit plaza with cafes and musicians, or the mall parking lot? That split says a lot about how a place expects you to live. Walk with me through 2 scenes. In many European towns, the street is a living room. Plazas, sidewalk cafes, open markets, and narrow promenades act like public extensions of private life. People assume they'll bump into neighbors, linger over espresso, or buy fresh bread from a stall. That's not an accident. It's a cultural expectation written into the physical space. Now flip to a typical American suburb. Fenced yards, strip malls, indoor shopping centers, and wide arterials designed for speed. Social life tends to be private or contained inside cars and climate-controlled buildings. You don't stumble into conversations the same way when every storefront faces a sea of asphalt and you need to drive to get anywhere. A big reason for that difference is mixed-use living. In Europe, apartments above shops are normal. Ground-floor cafes or bakeries bleed into the sidewalk, creating constant, casual interactions. Those eyes on the street generate safety, spontaneity, and small economies, a pastry shop that survives on morning commuters and afternoon strollers. Contrast that with zoning that separates homes, work, and shopping. When you banish shops from residential streets and require parking lots up front, you kill the conditions for casual encounters. Buildings with blank facades, drive-throughs, and long setbacks tell people, don't walk here, drive instead. Design shapes rituals. Picture alfresco dining with tiny tables spilling on sidewalks, neighbors lingering over coffee, kids playing tag around a fountain, or a farmer's market that turns a weekday morning into a social event. Those rituals reinforce a culture of being outside and connecting. Take away the design cues. No benches, no street trees, no shade, no storefront windows, and those rituals fade. If the only public places are parking lots and indoor malls, public life moves indoors or into private yards. The result is less chance encounters, fewer vibrant street-level businesses, and a city that feels quieter and more isolated. Here's the optimistic part. Small design and policy tweaks can revive public life. Temporary markets, parklets that reclaim a parking space for seating, pedestrianized streets, or simply requiring active ground floors can turn dead sidewalks into lively plazas. Cities around the world have done this, and later we'll show a few comeback stories where once car-first places learned to invite people back outside. Next up, let's dig into the history and policies that baked these patterns into place and why changing them takes more than a nice bench.
Quick question. Did you think European streets just magically stayed charming while American roads got huge? Not magic. Policy and money wrote that script. Let's unpack the history fast so the why actually makes sense. Start centuries ago. Most European city centers grew before cars existed. Streets and blocks evolved organically, squeezed between walls and markets. Buildings mixed homes, shops, and workshops because people needed to live close to where they worked. That messy, human-scale pattern is literally older than the idea of the automobile. Now jump to the 20th century in the U.S. Two big shifts happened almost back to back. First, the car became king, and planners redesigned cities around it. Second, government policies after World War II made owning a house on a suburban lot affordable for millions. Programs like federally backed mortgages and large-scale developers, think Levittown, made the suburban dream real. To make that dream work, planners built highways, widened roads, and prioritized fast automobile movement. Those decisions weren't neutral. Zoning laws started to specialize space. Commercial over here, houses over there, and industrial way over there. Throw in parking minimums, rules that forced new developments to include a certain number of parking spots, and suddenly every new building needed space for cars. The result? Wide arteries, sea of asphalt shopping centers, and neighborhoods designed for driving, not lingering. And money cemented it. Lenders, investors, and developers preferred low-density, single-family projects because they were easy to finance and sell. Local codes rewarded them. Over decades, these legal and financial incentives created a feedback loop. People expected to drive, businesses located where cars could reach them, and more rules followed to support that pattern. Preferences and regulations reinforced each other until the system felt natural. But it's not fixed. Cities can, and some have, rewritten the script. In the last 15-20 years, we've seen lots of policy-level reversals, removing parking minimums, allowing more mixed-use buildings, and investing in transit and protected bike lanes. Barcelona's superblocks reclaimed streets for people. Copenhagen kept pushing bike infrastructure until cycling became the easiest choice. New York converted car space into pedestrian plazas and added protected bike lanes. Minneapolis removed single-family-only zoning to allow more housing types. Those are the levers. Change the zoning, change the money rules, change the street design, and over time, behavior shifts. Small policy tweaks, fewer required parking spots, sidewalks and benches, better transit service add up to big cultural shifts in how people use public space. So the next time you stroll past a European cafe or sit in an American parking lot wondering why they feel different, remember, it's history plus laws plus financing, all layered over decades. And the good news? Cities are not stuck. Policy choices today can reshape how we move, meet, and live tomorrow. Do you live in a place that's trying something new? More bike lanes, fewer parking rules, a new plaza? Drop the city name in the comments. I love reading those examples. All right, quick wrap. 3 things to carry with you after today. First, scale and mobility matter. Narrow blocks, slow streets, and mixed-use neighborhoods nudge people out of cars and into streets. Second, public life design creates routine social magic. Plazas, sidewalk cafes, and markets make lingering normal. And third, none of this is some inevitable cultural fate. Policy, history, and money shaped our cities. Zoning, highways, and parking rules have real consequences. So what can you actually do as a traveler or a local? If you're visiting Europe, walk the neighborhoods, skip the main avenue for a side street cafe, and try a tram or bike share. Those small choices give you the best, most human side of a city. If you live in an American city and want change, start local. Back simple wins like protected bike lanes, parklets, pop-up plazas, and transit funding. Show up for a city council meeting. Support ballot measures that invest in walking and transit. And try tactical urbanism. Temporary interventions often become permanent when they work. Cities change slowly, but small, organized steps add up. If this comparison got you thinking or made you want to defend your wide boulevard, hit subscribe for more travel meets design videos. Then tell me in the comments, what's your city like? Cafe terraces or car lanes? I'll read them all. Cities are recipes. Some need fewer highways and more espresso.